You're listening to the One Step Deeper podcast with your host, Jimmy Moore and Brittany Davis. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.
I woke up at 5 and I was like, I'm going to actually I'm not going to wake up at 5 and look like I waked up at 5. Wake up. Oh my gosh.
Well, last week you were not feeling it so much at the beginning, and you're like, I'm in back pain. I got a heating pad. I feel like I'm peeing myself. Like it was bad. But this week you're doing a lot better.
I'm still on the heating pad. I'm not going to lie. I'm still sitting on it because sitting for long periods of time kind of aggravates my back. But we're working with it. We're doing a lot better this week. So.
Well, you can certainly blame other people for that if you wanted to. But
exactly.
You can grab back control of and take personal responsibility for, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Do you love our segues we do every week, you guys?
I love these segues. Yes, I love them.
Yes. So we do have Clubhouse joining us as well. So welcome to the Keto for the Soul Room. Thank you guys for being here, and we will bring you guys in. Brittany gets a kick out of you being on the show. So definitely chime in if you resonate with what we're going to talk about. But did you want to introduce the show, or am I on the spot?
How about a little bit of both?
How about a little bit of both? So this is the One Step Deeper podcast, and One Step Deeper Podcast.com is our official website. Where else can they find us?
You can find us over on Instagram, One Step Deeper Podcast. You can also check us out on Facebook. We have a community over there. I love following along with everybody on Facebook. I feel like we interact wherever you find us, but the truth is, like, it's over on Facebook community. Like, that's where we are. We're community over there. YouTube, you can find all the past episodes there. And obviously we're a podcast. You can find us wherever there's podcasts, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, my favorite, Spotify. And you can play on Alexa.
My Alexa go off a couple of weeks ago, so I taught her you got to spell it out, or everybody's Alexa will go off.
Yes, mine is not in my room, so it doesn't go off. But yes, and YouTube Sundays at 4. We're still premiering right now. I think Jimmy and I were, brainstorming that we might change that up a bit. But for now, you can find us on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me make sure I add that in there. And we premiere the episodes there, and you can chat along with us in the live chat.
Yeah, and if we can ever get you on Clubhouse, we'll probably engage with people on Clubhouse after the show airs on Sundays. That'll be another kind of fun way to continue the conversation, because what we do in One Step Deeper is not just an episode and hop off and never talk about those things. No, we live and breathe all of these things we talk about. And so today, you guys, episode 15. It's hard to believe we're already 15 episodes in. It feels like we're just getting started, but that's it. And we are. But in other ways, it feels like, because you and I have talked for a long time, it feels longer. But we're going to talk about the blame game. So many people want to point fingers at everybody else for all the woes in their life, why they never get ahead in life. And kind of the subheading is why you need to take back your own personal responsibility for your life, no matter what happened. You and I both have good excuses for saying, you know what, the reason I'm the way I am is because, and we can fill in the blank with specific people, specific circumstances. Why is that wrong?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm fired up for this one. Okay,
like
yesterday, I was a little hesitant. I'm like, I'm not really sure I have anything to say, and I just mulled over it, and I was like, oh my gosh. I might, Bianca might come out today, because I have just lived and breathed this life where it was somebody else's fault or some situation's fault, and I just let that be an excuse for me of why I wasn't growing or why I wasn't living. And for me, it doesn't show up as much in I blame a person, is I let my situations, I'm like, oh, well, I am this way because that happened to me. And oh gosh. And yes, it controls our life when we don't take personal responsibility, even if something horrible happened. Listen, Jimmy went through childhood trauma. I went through childhood trauma. Jimmy was beat by his dad. I had sexual things go on that shouldn't have went on. I mean, we went through some stuff as some kids, but it's still our responsibility to take what happened to us and and grow from it and learn from it. And listen, I don't really like the idea of that thought of my trauma made me stronger. Is there truth there? But you weren't supposed to be strong. You were supposed to be loved and supported and cared for. Like that wasn't the goal. And so I find and have sympathy for those who go through things similar to you and I have. But at the same time, you have to grab that, pick up the pieces of your life and begin to move on and piece those things back together. Go to therapy, listen to podcasts, read books, learn what you can to outgrow, outwit, outlast, outplay the life game, and stop blaming other people and situations for where you are right now. Because the truth is, these things and these choices that other people have done and these situations may have gotten you to where you are right now, but if you are going anywhere else, it's on you. Nobody else can take you there.
Somebody's a Survivor fan, so am I. So we just found out about each other yesterday that we both like the TV show Survivor. Jeff Probst, the tribe has spoken.
Yes.
So I think what people do with the blame game is they're trying to look for a scapegoat for things going awry in their life. And we know these people. Maybe you watching or listening right now, maybe you're one of these people. And we don't mind convicting you on this show because that's one of the reasons we do the show. You and I have worked through some stuff that we needed to be convicted about. Hell, you convict me all the time with things you say to me. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. And it's like, conviction doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means it's something you need to think about, either right or wrong. It's still something you need to think about. But people love the scapegoat. They just want to brush off things onto other people or circumstances because then they have no culpability in what happens next. And it's like, that's crap. Like, no matter where you are in your life, no matter what has happened to you, today is your day to grab that bull by the horns, start riding that cowboy, because you might fall off, you might get trampled a few times while you're working on yourself, but stop blaming other people for what has happened to you and start grabbing back control of your own life again so that you can direct which way it goes moving forward.
I think I had been positioned my whole life that I'm an observer. And so I observed all of these people in my life who use the things that happened to them or the people around them, and they would push the blame to somebody else and never take personal responsibility. And somewhere along the way, as a young child, I was like, no. And I think I developed my why in life really strongly during my weight loss journey, but it was before then. I just had this inner drive that I'm going to rise above anything. Like anything that's thrown my way, I'm going to rise above that. And the last probably 6 months, I began to kind of shift that why into something else more along the lines of I want to better myself. But it was because I looked around me and just saw all of these people just pushing the blame elsewhere. It's easy to do that.
And it's everybody. Like literally with you and I, the way we go one step deeper in our own personal conversations. In fact, we talked twice yesterday. Like everybody wants to be having the scapegoat on someone else or some other thing. And I'm going, wow, is that like the American way or something now? Like, let go of that shit, you guys. Like, that's not helping you at all. And when you start looking inwardly and start taking personal responsibility for those things actually start to turn better in your life. Not always immediately, but eventually turn into something of the things you were meant to be all along. But if you live in scapegoat world, live in the blame game, never taking on that personal responsibility, how do you ever expect to grow, progress in life, and reach your dreams?
Right. I had listened to somebody, and I really feel like it's Will Smith. I really do. I wish I would have gone and looked it up, but he said something one time that just like cut me deep. He was like, and I don't know the 2 words. I'm going to do the best that I can, guys. He said something along the lines of, it wasn't your fault what happened to you. It wasn't your responsibility of what happened to you, but it is, you are held accountable to do something with it.
No matter whose fault it is that something is broken, if it's your responsibility to fix it.
And so the longer you refuse to take it on yourself, the longer you're going to stay in chaos, the longer you're going to stay right where you are, the further you're going to get away from your goals. I think of myself a lot. And so again, I'm more situational, that I put blame on situations and just kind of, well, I can't do this because of this. I do that.
Your surgery last year was a
I was,
situation.
yes. So real life situation. Was in the hospital, and quite honestly, it was okay for me to sit on the couch for a little while. But then I kept sitting, and I kept sitting, and I pouted and I bitched and I whined and I was pissy all year long because I want to move my body, but I can't. But the truth was I could. The truth was I could. I
Yeah.
just couldn't move my body the way I wanted to move it, and so I didn't move it at all. What kind of sense does that make? What kind of sense does that make?
And that's such a good point in this conversation, because I think so many people have become habitually blaming other people and things that it becomes this, oh, wow, I can live here. It becomes, like we've talked about many times, when you kind of repeat these same patterns over and over and over again, it becomes the norm for them. And so you have no incentive to start looking inwardly and start taking on personal responsibility. I can tell you, in my 20s, I blamed my dad for everything that was bad in my life, which was everything. I did. And you did the same thing with your sexual abuser and even other family members. I blamed my dad, and to a lesser extent, my mom, for sending me away to live with my dad. And so I had some bitterness there. And that's what kind of creeps in when you don't deal with this stuff properly and you just blame. When you blame, you're literally expelling your bitterness and hate, even, and every other emotion you can think of towards that person, towards that situation, so that you think you're inoculating yourself. And what you don't realize is you're making yourself wide open for criticism and scrutiny.
That is such a good analogy. Like, I could just see that. When we think when we're pushing blame to somebody else, we think we're taking our emotions and putting them on somebody else. But reality is we're still carrying all of that. Oh man, Facebook post, I saw it. Listen, if somebody hates me, I don't feel that. They feel that. I don't feel that shit. They got to work that out on themselves. And it's the same thing with us. It's like when we blame somebody else, they don't feel that. They don't know. They don't care. Like, push the blame all you want to, but you're the only person that feels that. So the only way you're going to get through whatever it is that's in front of you is grasp hold of those emotions. What do I say? Feel the feels. Feel all of them. Be angry, be pissed, have all the emotions. And you have to begin to move through those and stop blaming other people, stop blaming other situations, and take control and responsibility for where you are in your life.
Yeah. And again, I think so many people go through their entire life, Brittany, and they never come to terms with taking that personal responsibility. They have that comfort of the blame, because it's so easy. And when you blame, you have no culpability. You're never wrong. You're a narcissist. And like, those are like the people that they have messed up relationships and they don't know why. Those are the people that go through life never progressing in their career, and they don't know why. Things just seem to be off, and they don't know why. I'm talking about Jimmy Moore, circa 20s and even into my 30s a little bit, before I realized, homeboy, you.
Yeah, it becomes an identity, this victim mentality of all of these things happen to me, and I am the way I am because these things happen to me. But why? It's such a stronger message instead of saying all these things happen to me, so feel pity for me. How about all these things happen to me and I'm a badass bitch now?
It's Brittany, bitch.
I'm sorry. Full mood this morning.
I love you are a bad bitch, by the way. I will concur with that analysis of who you are. Yes, and when you come into yourself and you stop pointing fingers, you get a peace about you. You get some of that like chronic tightness in your shoulders and neck that just is always there because you're always angry at the world. Again, circa 20s and 30s for Jimmy. And then when you let that shit go, it just is like,
Yeah, I want to give like a real life situation here,
Yeah.
like a hypothetical, never actually happened, but just a hypothetical. So you walk into a room and you and your spouse or you and your friend or you and somebody else that you're in a relationship with, there's a disagreement. There's a disconnect there. Something happens. And this person says, well, I wouldn't have said that if you didn't say this.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have said that if you didn't say this. there's no understanding. Instead, how much better and how much quicker could you get to an understanding, common ground, if the other person said, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry I hurt you. That was not my intention. How can we reach common ground? How can we how can we level this out? How can we understand each other?" How much deeper can your relationship go if you do that instead of, "Well, I only did that because you did." Like, how childish is that? Like, that's such a childish mindset to push. Well, I wouldn't have reacted that way if you wouldn't have done this, or I would have, let me not say it. I have a family member just in my brain and I can hear their words, but I'm not going to call them out. We're just going to leave that there. Just let that thought float away.
So, mysterious family member said what? Paraphrase.
They would have showed up for me. They would have
Yeah.
showed up for me if I had done a certain thing.
Yeah. So it was strings attached.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. That's just messed up. Or
I was like, let it float away. Just let it float away.
yeah. Well, and she's getting emotional, and you and I had discussions about this very issue, so I know how and it messes with you.
It does.
Let's talk about that aspect of things, because easy to talk about ourselves and say, okay, yeah, we shouldn't blame other people and we should take back personal responsibility. But we got a lot of people out there, especially in friends and family circles, that they are doing the blame game on you. So that's what you were just talking about. So how do you handle, I mean, obviously this particular person made you pretty emotional and distraught, and you and I talked for a while, you and your husband talked for a while, and you were able to kind of work through those emotions. They're still lingering because I can see it in your eyes. But how do you deal with those people? Because you can't change them if they don't want to stop blaming other people.
Right. And that is a difficult place to be, to know that somebody else is blaming you. At the end of the day, it's not like you decide 1 minute and then it's all gone. Like, there's still going to be emotions there. There's still going to be things that you have to work through. But we talked about this a couple episodes ago. Don't remember which one. I do apologize. We talked about this idea of, you have 3 different levels. You have positive, you have negative, and then you have neutral. And so in the neutral zone, I try to take it as information and understand that when someone's blaming me and they're not wanting to reach understanding, even though I've reached out and said, hey, let's have a conversation, and they're not willing to go there, I understand that me as myself has done everything that I can to reconcile and to fix this situation, and they choose to be negative about it, whereas I'm trying to get us to positive, but I refuse to be negative about it. Let me rephrase. I refuse to stay negative about it. And so I just try to sit in that neutral zone where, okay, this is where they are. I have to accept them right where they are. And if that means we can't have a relationship right now until they want to reach positivity, then that's where we're just going to have to sit.
One thing I know about you is you don't like dancing on eggshells around anybody, which is why you and I are so comfortable, because we don't. We have our moments, and we had another one this week, and we dealt with it. And it was funny, reversed roles, because usually I'm the one that comes back at you and like, we need to talk. This is not good. We need to. And then you go quiet on me for hours. What happened?
Y'all, Jimmy went quiet on me for 4 hours this week after I called him out on something.
I've never gone quiet on you, but it's like you took on my role because you're like, damn it, I'm going to say what I got to say right now. Deal with it. I was like, whoa. I've been quiet for a while.
Hey, listen, you asked for it. Y'all, Jimmy asked for me to do this, and then I do it. And he's like, hold up, wait a minute. Wasn't ready.
I didn't know quite what I was asking for until I felt it in the moment. I was like, I'm just going to be quiet. We're going to switch roles today. And that's the beauty of our friendship, is we still have arguments. It looks like on camera that we're best of buds and everything's always happy. No, we have some moments together.
But we refuse to blame each other. You
Exactly.
refuse to place blame on me. You're like, you know what? She kind of is right. And when you tell me something, I might be pissed off at you for a little bit. But the truth is, I'm like, he's right. God dang it.
Yeah, this issue, you called me out on a tendency that I wasn't really noticing in myself, that I was kind of throwing the blame on you a little bit about something. I'm trying to be by design because it's private conversation. But the point is, we all can fall susceptible to this, even when we're aware of the blame game, it's still so easy. Pass the buck is literally an expression because of this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know why it's so hard. I guess I've practiced this for so long. Me and my daughter kind of, me and my
Tammy,
daughter butt heads a lot. Yes, Cammy. So I'm very organized and clean and neat and type 1 Enneagram. And my polar opposite is a type 7, which is my daughter. And nothing is clean and nothing is organized. And she just sees it as a beautiful jungle. And so I really struggle with that. And I was having a rough day. And so I went in her room and we had lots of conversations about your room. We try to meet somewhere in the middle of, okay, I understand it's not going to be mama clean, but we got to have some level of clean. And I kind of lost it this week. But you know what I did? As soon as I walked out, I was like, crap. Go back in her room.
yeah.
Mama, sorry. Mama messed up. I am a human being. I am not placing blame on you. It's my fault. I am the adult in this situation. I am so sorry that I raised my voice. That is not appropriate. That is not okay. I don't want to teach you that you raise your voice when you're angry about something. Let's have a conversation. I had to take responsibility for what I did. I can't blame her. If you would have cleaned your room, then I wouldn't have yelled at you. That's crap. That is crap parenting. Don't do that. Sorry.
Oh, but what you did next is a part of this discussion I want to talk about as well. Yes, you took personal responsibility. You blamed yourself, but you took it in a negative direction. Can you tell the story about how you were feeling? Your husband came in and what Cammie said? I know the
Yes.
story. I can't remember.
Yes. So I was having a very distraught day 2 days ago. Something had triggered me, and I didn't realize it had triggered me until way later in the day. And so I was snippy at Cammy, and then I was snippy at this, and then there was just a couple of dishes, but I was making out like this big, huge thing.
That was the same day you and I had our riff too. Wow, it was just riff day for Brittany.
It was a day, and it all led back to this one little trigger. God dang, those little triggers.
Yes.
Anyway, so my husband had come home, and I'm distraught, and I'm crying. He walks in the door and sees my back. He doesn't see my face. He doesn't know anything has gone on. He sees my back, and he's like, "What's up? Something's up," because he knows.
Over a decade, so he kind of knows you by now.
Yeah, and so we were talking. I was discussing with him what had happened with Cammy, and I just felt like crap. I had already apologized to her. Here, Cammy come down the steps, so I wiped my tears up. I didn't want her to see me distraught.
8 years old. Keep going.
8 years old, yes. And she's like, "What's wrong, Mom?" And my husband was like, "Mom's just feeling pretty bad, that she feels like a bad mom, because of what happened earlier." She's like, No, we are not having this. You're not going to sit here and feel bad about this. You apologize. Let's take this and move on. And I was like, crap, it's little me.
And I told you when you told me that story, I said, remember that story every time you think you're a bad mom. And yeah, because you do take blame on yourself a lot, Brittany. I can say this with verifiability. You put it, but then you do it in a negative way because it becomes guilt and shame because you're, oh my gosh, it's all me. And then all these people around are happy to pile on and say, yeah, you're right. It is on you. And so how do you channel that so that it's not a negative when you're blaming yourself and taking that responsibility? How do you channel it so it doesn't get you in that deep, dark place of shame and blame on yourself in a negative way?
I don't like you right now.
Aw. Oh, I'm making you think about something you don't want to deal with?
Right, yes. I was like, oh, crap. Ugh. Blaming myself has become a trigger, has become this trauma response because everybody in my life blamed me. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's my fault.
Well, it will talk to you, and you've told many times on this show how you would bring home report cards, all 100s and 197, and then you would be to blame and you get punished because you got the 97. Like, that's an unrealistic expectation of putting all this blame on a child at a very impressionable age. And so, yeah, I think you learned, oh, I'm supposed to feel like shit. I'm supposed to be the one that takes on this shame and guilt and everything. And you brought it to adulthood.
Yeah, I think you hit it right. That so we have to be careful when we take the blame on ourselves. We have to be careful when we take that responsibility, because very quickly taking responsibility for something can become a shame spiral. And in that shame spiral, you're really just doing the same thing. Instead of pushing blame somewhere else, you're pushing it on yourself, but you're just sitting in it. You're just sitting in this big pile of blame shit when really you need to take that and like, all right, shovel this, put that over there, shovel this, put that over there. How about that for analogy for you?
I'm imagining shoveling shit and having getting rid of the shit sandwiches that people have been eating. So it's hard. Oh,
You have to deconstruct that and just piece by piece. And it's a long journey, guys. It's such a long journey. I'm still on it myself,
ongoing. No matter what age you are, it's ongoing. I'm 49. It's still ongoing. Like it will be ongoing for the rest of your life, because you have to keep your guard up about this. Because like just this week, I blamed you for something. Oh crap! And I'm cognizant of this, and I still did it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Same for me. I do the same thing. Like I said, just this week I snapped at my daughter, and I felt like so bad about it. And you were right. I shouldn't have taken that and shamed myself. I'm a human being, and so to move through that. So even I make mistakes and I don't do everything perfectly, but that's why you and I are so good on this show and what we talk about, because we bring the real life things that we're dealing with, the things that we're growing through. We bring it here and we take it that one step deeper of why did this happen? Where can we go from here? We ask all of the hard questions, the who, what, where, when, how, all of those questions to just get deeper to see where this is coming from, because people don't just act to act. I have learned that people don't just react because they, it doesn't work that way. I have someone in my family, and Jimmy knows very many stories about this person, who their first reaction is always anger. Everything is anger. Nothing else. No other emotions.
And finger pointing at you.
Yeah. I'm angry. It's your fault. I wouldn't be this way if it wasn't for you. And I'm like,
yeah.
And it's not, you can't deal with anything when you're in that, when you're just angry all the time and you don't take capture of all of these emotions that you're feeling. Anger is a reaction. Anger is not an emotion, period. There are, let me be my sister real quick, period.
Yeah.
When you're angry, there's always some undercover emotion that you're feeling. Perhaps it's, hurt or frustration or pain or something along that lines. It's never actually anger. So when you get angry about something, take a step back and go, all right, this isn't actually anger. What am I actually feeling that's bringing up this reaction? What am I actually feeling?
Yeah. It's that Tessa that says, period.
Yeah, period.
This little hand move that looks like you're cutting throat.
Yeah. My sister is 18, guys, so she keeps me young.
Yeah, so what, Gen Z,
Yeah.
and you're a young millennial.
Yeah.
Well, I want to open up the room over on Clubhouse. Welcome, Keto for the Soul. Thank you guys for being here and listening into this live recording of the One Step Deeper podcast. So hit the hand if you want to resonate with us and talk to us. Does any of this resonate with you? We want to hear from you. Go ahead and raise your hand. We'll bring you on the stage and then we'll get you on the air. But Brittany, this is something that I'm glad we're doing this episode. And we have a bad habit, by the way, of choosing episodes way ahead of time. But then that week that we do that episode, almost invariably, we deal with that topic. And you and I both had this one just all over us this week.
Yes. I was looking at the next topics that we have.
No. I don't want to know. No, just kidding. What is the next topic?
The very next one is one of my favorites to talk about. You have a choice in your reaction. People don't like it when I talk about that. But yeah, you have a choice in your reaction. Yep. I'm not looking forward to the test that comes along.
It's like, all right, don't react to me strongly, or I won't react to you strong. Something's going to happen. Dang it. It's almost like, what was that movie, Final Destination?
In death, there are no accidents.
You escape death and it comes back to get you. It's like, don't put that out in the universe. It might come back to get us.
Maybe we take hold and we know that it's coming, because usually we don't really look at the topic until like
No.
the day before. And so
Right.
maybe now that we know, it won't happen.
Yes. Beetlejuice, and there it is. So, so blame game. Stop playing it. I mean, it sounds easy, and it sounds easy to just let things be, but that's deep work. Like, I think you have to do a lot of the things we've talked about on this podcast over the past few months. You have to do that internal work before you can get to the point where you can let that go. And let's be clear about something. If you're a narcissist, you probably don't know you are. And so a narcissist can never get to that point where they're not blaming other people. That's literally in the definition of being a narcissist, where everybody else is the problem and you're not. My dad, very prime example of a narcissist. He was my abuser and fails to even acknowledge that he did that to me. I suppose you could say I blame him, but no, I'm just pointing out facts in that case. But I've turned out pretty good. I've been successful in my career. I'm doing all right for myself. So I don't credit him either. Like, blame can go negative of, blame him for the bad things, but I don't blame him and give him any of the credit for what's good has happened to me, because I have done that internal work. I have taken the responsibility to not say, well, because I was abused, therefore here's the rest of my life.
Yeah, that takes this a whole nother way, is that idea that I heard somebody say one time that if we're going to blame somebody, Tony Robbins, oh God, this one hurt. I'm not going to lie, this one hurt. If we're going to blame someone for the bad in our life, we have to blame them for the
credit
good.
for everything that's fucked up, then you have to give them credit for everything that's great.
And so I just got to where I'm not going to blame anybody for the bad, because I want to take credit for the good in my life. I ain't blaming nobody for nothing. But I mean, he is right. All the things that I've been through, all the things that I could have blamed other people for, all of the situations that I did place blame in for a long time, I got to a place where I can't blame that. There is no blame. Like, it's really just, it's all about me and my responsibility and taking that on. But that idea of blaming somebody else for the good, I don't do well with that, because I'm like, no, I worked my ass off to get here in spite of what happened to me.
Well, and I think you can acknowledge that. And I do the same thing, because that motherfucker that birthed me, he was the sperm donor. That's pretty much what he is to me. He was not a dad. And so for many years I did blame him. And when I let that go and I started coming into my own, that's when I was able to be more fulfilled in my life and have dreams come true. I don't think I would have been a best-selling author had I held on to that grudge and just always blamed him, because I never would have broke through into the creativity that opened up, because I let go of that shiz from my past and started embracing this wonderful human being that I'm trying to be on the inside. And this is what people fail to realize. They think they're hurting that other person by blaming. And all they're doing is hurting themselves. It's kind of like the concept of forgiveness. You don't forgive for the other person. You forgive for yourself, because when you let that pressure go and all that releases from your body, look out, world, because new things are coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can get stuck in that blame cycle. It's easy. I mean, it just happened between us this week. It's easy to go there. And even if it's like indirect blame, it's easy to go there. And so really capture it and being observative of your own life, your own patterns, your own thoughts, just being observant of those things. I still go back to, I know you put a clip up in a past episode of my favorite guy on TikTok, and he just kind of steps out of his body and he lets his mind do his thing. I'm like, you go ahead, you have your moment, okay? And then he's like, I'm just going to watch. I'm just going to observe. I'm just going to see what you feel. And it's this thing where when you step outside of all of those feelings that you're feeling for a second, you just observe them. Something about the situation just quiets. So he goes to sleep. He just kind of lays down.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're observing your reaction and you're observing all these things that are happening, instead of putting blame on somebody else for what's going on, you just observe the situation. It kind of calms that reaction. It kind of calms that I guess that'll show up next week when we talk about reactions. But yeah, it plays true here too.
Absolutely. So I want to bring some of the Clubhouse people up. We got a couple of people that wanted to make some comments. Johanna, Latina Living Keto. What's going on, my dear?
Good morning.
Hey,
Good
hey.
morning. I'm outside, so it's a little windy. I don't know if you can hear me that well.
I hear you just fine. What you got for us?
Okay. Well, I love this topic, and it's such a great way to start the morning, because sometimes we do blame ourselves for so many different things. I know that I'm definitely guilty of it, and I have to work on it every day.
Yes.
And I blame myself for things that I have no control over, but sometimes it's so internalized in you that you automatically start that negative self-talk. So like with me, last week was pretty bad for me, and I just kept saying, I'm not a fuck up. But that's all just like that deep-seated blame that I have.
Yes.
To want to be perfect in situations I can't control.
We do that to ourselves, don't we, Johanna?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I do it constantly, and it's just good to sometimes just step back and release that, especially when you have no control over it, which is the hard part, and having the self-awareness to actually do that too.
So, Johanna, I have a song for you to inspire you to remember the next time you want to hold on to that stuff. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Let it go, let it go.
I say that
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
And then I'm just kind of like, oh, that's stupid Frozen.
Yes. I'm silly, but hey, it makes the point, doesn't it, Brittany?
yeah.
What do you think, Johanna, what she had to say?
She said one of the words in there that I know so well, and I embrace so much, this pursuit of perfection.
Yes.
And I just want to say, excuse me when I say, fuck perfection.
Yes.
Just no. Just stop. It's not a thing. It's not real. And believe me, Jimmy can vouch when I say that I fall short of perfect. If and when I fall short of perfect in something, I beat the crap out of myself, and I blame myself for being this horrible mom and horrible wife and horrible person. And how could I possibly be anything? Because I am a worthless piece of shit. You know what? Where does that get me? Absolutely nowhere. It gets me like encased like a cement brick on the couch, feeling sorry for myself because I'm blaming myself for all of these things that I can't control, that I can't change. And so the best thing for me to do is move to that neutral zone and go, okay, well, I can't be positive about this. I can't be, I shouldn't be negative about this. Maybe not should. I should choose not. Anyway, I'm trying not to kid myself.
You choose to.
Yes, I want to get somewhere in the middle. Okay, this happened. This is the truth of this situation. Perfection is not a thing. Only progress. Let's make progress. One of my favorite things to do to get myself out of that brain that we stay in all the time in blame or trying to pursue perfection, any of that, is I give myself 5 minutes. I will set a timer. I'm so serious. Set a timer. Give myself 5 minutes to sit on the couch, bitch, whine, complain, do all the things, feel all the feels. And then I'm like, all right, now I'm going to set another timer, 15 minutes. 15 minutes of action. 15 minutes, I'm going to get off my ass and do whatever I need to do for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I reassess myself. Where am I at now? Do I need another 5 minutes to feel my feels? Most of the time, it only takes about one round of this before I'm just like in the mode. Because when you start to get shit done, you get shit done. And you don't place that internal blame that we put on ourselves. It just starts to disappear.
Right.
Because we're working and we're moving and we're accomplishing things.
Yeah, you have to stop that downward spiral. And Johanna, I know you've been there. I see Rhonda just came in the room. She's been there. Last week was there for her. Like, this is normal. I think a lot of us deal with it. Do you like what Brittany had to say, Johanna?
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm the same way too with the perfectionism.
Yes. I love
your fullest potential.
I love the phrase fuck perfectionism. We should make a bumper sticker. People will get offended. Oh well, they'll get over it. Johanna, thank you for that. Anna, what you got for us?
Well, this is a really great topic, and I think that it's one that could be spoken about every day, and you would never cover everything.
Yes.
And I really do think that it's biochemical in a lot of ways.
True.
Like, neurons that fire together wire together. So for me, like when I work with clients on negativity and that kind of thing, especially because I'm a sugar and food addiction specialist primarily. And I see this in, when I was just coaching for like keto and carnivore previously, that people failed because they almost feared success, or they just couldn't believe they could be successful. Instead of kind of putting it down and looking at, hey, I got through yesterday, I got through that office party, and I didn't need to sabotage myself, because I think sometimes a lot of our failure and a lot of our blame and a lot of our inner secret voices are what leads to that blame, shame, and guilt.
Yes.
And I think we have to do a brain bypass. Like we have to observe that part of our brain. I call that part of my brain K-fuck radio. I'm coming up on 32 years clean, so
nice.
It's been called that for a long time. And to me, I literally visualize myself changing the station. Some people talk about killing ants, and I think that responsibility, that's what you guys were talking about when I first came in.
Yes.
And that is such a huge thing, that it's such a loaded word, right? Because what are we responsible for, and how do we decide what we're responsible for?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really important to have like boundaries. Otherwise, I'm going to be acting like I'm responsible for somebody else, for my clients, for my children's behavior, for whatever that I'm not responsible for in all reality. And I think we get really hard on ourselves, and we get our relationships suffer when we take responsibility for what isn't ours, and when we worry about things that are not we have no power over change. So one thing I ask myself is, if I'm responsible for this, if I truly am responsible for this, do I have the power to change something about this? If the answer is no, I might not be responsible for that thing, because I can only have agency in what's mine.
Yes.
But this is a great topic, and I just am glad you guys are talking about this as a subject, because I think it really trips people up in having the quality of life that we want to have. And one more point is, when we stop blaming ourselves, we also stop pointing the finger at other people, because we get over that perfection piece
Yes.
you guys are talking about, and we can let people be who they are, and they can make mistakes, because we know we make them too, and it's just so much more relaxed.
And I don't think Brittany can bob her head any more up and down than she was the whole time you were talking. Brittany, what do you have to say to what Anna had to share?
Please tell me where I can find this human being.
Yeah, I'll give you Anna's Instagram when we're done. But thank you, Anna. Very wise. Like she literally was talking to Brittany pretty deep there. That was a lot of the things you struggle with still.
I think that's another great thing that she touched on to bring into this conversation, is the fact that we don't set boundaries. And when we don't set those boundaries, that's a lot of the time where that blame goes. So
Yes.
I didn't know what a boundary was until like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And maybe like 2 months ago.
And maybe you're still dealing with, where do you draw the line on those boundaries? Because you and I have had many conversations where I'm like, you need to cut that person, at least silence them. And you
Yes.
want,
So
because of the guilt trip of the blame they're putting on you, you kind of want to make that right. And it's not made right, because they want to keep blaming you, and that's where you have to do that positive, negative, neutral. You're kind of in that neutral zone, but you're being pulled to the negative side of that neutral more than the positive.
I loved what she said, though, to really examine, is it our responsibility? And to ask ourselves the question is, if this is my responsibility, can I change it? And if you can't change it, then maybe it's not your responsibility. And I'm like, what? That is incredible.
Yeah,
So I wrote it down.
If it was profound, it's just my way of saying things that have been said for thousands of years, probably.
It's profound in as much as it makes it simple, and it definitely applies to everything we're talking about here today.
Well, so good.
Things simple enough for a caveman to understand them.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, one little thing that I do tell my clients that
Sure.
I'm just thinking of with boundaries is that boundaries are like having a crib, and everyone with a baby knows that as soon as your baby can roll over, you pull up that side rail. And that's not to be mean. And I think that people that haven't had boundaries and they don't know where they start and others begin, or where they stop and others begin, they think they're being selfish, but really you're protecting yourself and another human being from fallout. And so to me, if you can kind of like, as a woman, it's very easy to think of just putting up that side rail, and you're doing a responsible thing for that baby. And that's what you're doing for yourself. You're being responsible for yourself and others. And, you're just saying, this is the line, it's not going to get crossed. And when that line doesn't get crossed, then we don't feel guilty because we didn't meet someone's expectations that weren't ours to meet anyway. Like Gandhi said, he got a gift and someone said, well, why aren't you opening it? And his answer was, just because someone gives you something doesn't mean you have to accept it.
Ooh.
And I think that's a huge part of boundaries. I think it was Gandhi anyway.
Just because somebody gives you something doesn't mean you have to accept it. Whoa. Anna, you're the queen of dropping bombs on us here today. What do you think, Brittany?
I have to write that down.
Yeah, she's writing it down voraciously. I'm going to connect you to Anna when we're done here so you can talk to her. She is a sweetheart in the Keto for the Soul Room.
These beautiful humans on Clubhouse, they just blow my mind. And I'm like, I think I know about this topic. And then they say something. I'm just like, wow, that is great. Yeah, the boundaries, talking about boundaries being like cribs. Perfect analogy. And then just because somebody gives you something doesn't mean you have to accept it. I'm just going over all the things in my life that I didn't have to accept that, but I chose to. But no, that's yours. Let's just put that back over there. You keep that in your crib. You keep that over there. Yes.
Yeah, great analogy. Anna, thank you so much. That was a lot of valuable content. Triple J, what you got for us?
Good morning, dog.
Hey, bud. What's going on?
I was looking at the topic, and I was like, wow. I said, that's some real heavy stuff right there, because, the blame game is played by many participants. And I looked at how, I play the blame game on myself for different situations and different decisions that I've made on my, for me. And it didn't work out, or something happened. I blame myself, part of myself, which triggered emotional eating, which triggered not taking care of myself, not caring, being stressed. So I played the blame game with myself, but others played the blame game by blaming me for things that they got control over. And and it brought me back to a conversation I had with my daughter. I told her, I said, she blamed me for something. I said, well, do you think the people that goes before the judge after they rob a bank, or they commit a crime or anything like that, you think they can tell the judge, hey, well, my dad treated me like crap, so that's the reason why I robbed this bank? I said, they're going to jail still.
Right.
Whatever your reason that you give for something that you've done, you still have to face those consequences. And so I'm so glad that I have the power within myself to stop playing the blame game. And when people blame me, I say, oh, well, that's something you have to deal with, because I don't blame myself anymore for that. And I'm giving that back to you. You have to take the power away from the blame game. You have to take the power back in yourself to say, hey, no. You're blaming me. Okay, well, blame me. If that makes you feel better, then it's not going to affect me. It's how we react to the blame game. Because we can stop playing the blame game with ourselves, but others will still try to play that game with you. And you just have to tell them, hey, I'm not playing that game. But if you feel better about blaming me, go right ahead. I'm still going to be good. I'm going to be free. I'm going to just be like a bird and fly above the clouds. I'm not, giving you that power over me anymore. And we can't give that power to our inner self, that other self, that give that power to ourselves by blaming ourselves all the time.
Woo! That will preach, Triple J. And he's 1 month on a keto journey. He just started a month ago, and I'm sure Triple J, for many years, you blamed all kind of circumstances and people for why you were fat and sick. And now you've let that go, and you're doing this, and you're grabbing hold of this yourself, taking that personal responsibility. And here's the fun part. You're doing it. You let go of the blame, and now you're getting the success. You're reaping the rewards of that.
Yes, sir. And I just had to get the blame game is almost like a prison.
Yes.
You're bound by that thing. And until you
Yes.
I'm doing great now, dog. I'm doing great, and I thank you.
Loose those shackles, dog.
Yes.
Brittany, what's
Hey, that's your next shirt. That's your next shirt, dog.
There it is.
Dog.
I'm on it. What do you think, Brittany?
Thanks, Triple J. That was awesome. Yeah, I was thinking about my journey, and pretty much what was happening to me was I was wearing 70 pounds of blame.
Yes.
I was wearing 70 pounds of blame on other people of things that I'm like, well, I was pushing the blame on other people, but in reality, I was just internalizing that and just gaining weight and gaining stress and gaining all the things because it wasn't my fault this happened to me. And the truth was, it wasn't my fault that this happened to me, but it was my responsibility what I did with my fork. It was my responsibility what I did with my body and how I moved my body. I didn't have to sit on the couch and gain 75 pounds. I didn't have to do that, but I did. And I had to take responsibility. And the day I decided to take responsibility, it was on me.
Yes.
There was no partner. There was no workout partner. There was no come meal prep with me partner. I did it on my own by myself with a bunch of people looking at me like I was crazy because I was eating all this fat and all this meat, but it was on me. I had to do that.
Well, and the blame game manifested itself in me physically as well, in gaining pretty much all of my weight. I was in high school when I graduated, like 240 pounds, 240 pounds. And then all through my late teens, through my 20s, when I was still dealing with blaming my dad for all the bad things in my life, that's when I ballooned up to 400 plus pounds. And so it's applicable to a lot of areas of life, but that's one that's relatable for a lot of people. And they never look at those things. It's always like, well, obviously I didn't eat the right food, so therefore that's why I got fat. Well, what made you not eat the right foods? It was kind of this comfort thing. And so, wow, Triple J, thank you for that. And Rhonda, you got the next, you're up next.
But I just wanted to say, for me, my blame game was being a busy mom, a working mom. And I blamed that on, and my kids being home, of why I had to buy junk food. I couldn't deprive them of things that I had access to as a kid. And that's the exact opposite of what I should have been doing.
Yes.
When they became finicky about what they would eat compared to what I wanted to cook, I kind of caved in their preteen and teen years. And so that was who I blamed. But of course it was me because I was the adult. We had the money, they didn't. And if they didn't eat what we cooked, they wouldn't have eaten. You think about that nowadays, but back then you're like blaming it on them, but it was because you like those foods too. You like French fries and chicken nuggets and Doritos. I mean, I should have invested in Doritos because there was never a time that grocery store without 2 bags of Doritos.
Oh, Rhonda, it was McDonald's for me. I could have bought stock at McDonald's just with my own business there.
Exactly. And for us now, I kind of started blaming my husband on continuing to buy some things now that the kids are out of the house. But the more I don't buy them, the more he doesn't really request them.
Good.
And it's saving me. So I can't blame anyone, of course, but myself. I did love a lot of the things that the lady said before, like the boundaries and lifting the crib. I'll never forget that. There's some things you just get in your spirit and you can remember that and you can pass it on to others. So I thank everyone this morning for sharing, and thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Wow, great comments. And I want to make sure we get Chef Michael in here. What you got for us, bud?
Hey, good morning, Jimmy. This is so fun. I've never actually been a part of a live recording, so this is really cool. And by the way, I just love the topic, and Anna, I want to give you a huge shout out. I thought what you said was amazing, so thank you for that. And it really got me thinking. And I used to do this too. I used to blame everyone else for my problems, and I also used to blame myself. And I think Anna was saying, we got to let go of the things we're not in control of. What I realized it came to, what was sort of behind the blame, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but what was behind the blame was hatred. whether that's hatred for somebody else or hatred of ourselves.
Yes.
And so when you can kind of step back and say, you know what, I'm going to choose to just kind of love myself. Like I know through my weight gain and then through my weight loss, the big shift wasn't, oh, I don't eat carbs anymore, I'm going to go keto. The big shift was, starting today, I'm actually going to try to find a way to love myself for the first time in my life. And a part of that allowed me to let go of the blame, not only of other people, but of myself. So I don't know if that makes any sense. It's a subtle thing, but I think behind the blame, you also have to just kind of love yourself maybe for the first time. And so I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Chef Michael. And that is part of the healing process, Brittany. You can't really stop shifting the blame to other people until you start to forgive yourself for the things in your life and start loving yourself, maybe authentically for the first time in your life. I've been doing that internal work, as you well know, so have you, over the past couple of years, and it totally changes everything about this topic.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. I wrote it down that, you know, I, Jimmy, and Chef Michael, we hated ourselves through food for so many years. And there was a point in time when we had to start loving ourselves through food. Like we had to make those choices. And then going back to what she had said right before, talking about blaming kids, man, I lived there where I was like, well, they're eating chicken nuggets, so I guess I'm eating chicken nuggets. Or maybe nobody should be eating chicken nuggets. So. But my kids have junk food. There's junk food in my house. My husband is a tiny little beanpole who can eat a $20 worth of peanut butter M&Ms. Look the same. I breathe the M&M waft and I gain weight.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm not bitter about it at all.
Oh, kind of hate the people that can eat a lot and not gain weight.
But I don't blame him. I can't blame my kids, wherever they are. It's just that taking everything on us, taking everything on ourselves. This is great. Thank you, all the Clubhouse people. Y'all are amazing.
Clubhouse, you brought it today. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming on the stage at a very early morning in the middle of the week. So I really appreciate you guys being here. But we are completely out of time, Brittany. Episode 15 in the can, One Step Deeper podcast. Stop blaming yourself. The blame game does not end well for anybody, and start taking on responsibility for your own decisions and life and what happens in it.
Yes, absolutely.
So guys, go visit our website, onestepdeeperpodcast.com. You can see all the past episodes there. We embed the videos there as well. One Step Deeper Podcast over on Instagram. If you want to follow the show, we put all kinds of things on there, just this show, but as well as like inspirational posts. We also have One Step Deeper Podcast Community over on Facebook, so go check us out there. And we do debut these on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So all of you that commented today on the Clubhouse room, you'll get to see yourself when we post this and premiere it live this Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Then it's a podcast on Monday. So Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, all the usual suspects. Alexa, that was the coolest one when they started integrating podcasts with the little home devices. I'm like, cool. And you liked that one too, didn't you? And as always, go leave us a review. When you're a brand new podcast, reviews are gold. That's how people find you. And if you like what we do here, definitely go check us out. And again, thank you to the Keto for the Soul room over on Clubhouse. Guys, get on Clubhouse. I know it's limited to iPhones and by invitation only, but if you can get someone to get you up there, I promise you it's going to be worth it. And I love my Keto for the Soul peeps. So thank you guys for being here today. So Brittany, that's it for now. We'll see you again next week.
See you next week.
OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.